Today we will be discussing the Microsoft Dynamics GP General Ledger Year-End Closing. Analytical accounting will also be included if you are using that module for steps that you will need to take if you want to close your analytical accounting subledger. There is a specific order in which you should close each of your modules within Microsoft Dynamics GP before closing your general ledger. That closing order is inventory, receivables management, payables management, fixed assets, then general ledger, and if you're using analytical accounting, there are some settings that you will need to mark if you choose to close the analytical accounting subledger. Please note that payroll is independent of all the other closing processes within Microsoft Dynamics GP. The steps for closing the general ledger are as follows. Complete the posting procedures and the closing procedures for all other modules. Note, this step is only required if General Ledger is integrated with other modules. Post the final adjusting entries in General Ledger. Print an account list to verify the posting type of each account. Close the last period of the fiscal year. This is an optional step. The next step is optional as well. Perform file maintenance on the Financial Series group of modules. Verify the settings in the General Ledger Setup window. Make a backup. Print a final detailed trial balance report. Print your year-end financial statements. Set up a new fiscal year. Close the fiscal year. Close all the fiscal periods for all the series if you have not done this when processing your year-end close for other modules. Adjust the budget figures for the new year if you're using the budgeting tool within Microsoft Dynamics GP, and then print the financial statements. And last, make another backup. Let's take a look at what the process looks like. Please note, during the year-end closing routine for the General Ledger, all the records that will be moved are put in a temporary table before they are moved to the GL 30,000 table. You must have free disk space that is equal to the size of the GL 20,000 table to perform the routine. An automated solution is available on Microsoft Dynamics Customer Source website. For more information about this tool, please visit Customer Source. The first step is to complete all of your posting procedures and the closing procedures for all other modules. You only follow this step if General Ledger is integrated with other modules. If General Ledger is not integrated with other modules, you may skip this step. First, you will want to ensure that you have posted all final transactions in the other modules except in General Ledger. Complete the month-end procedure and the quarter-end procedure for any of the other modules. Complete the year-end closing processes for each of the modules in the following order: inventory, receivables management, payables management, fixed asset management. And you will also want to mark any settings if you're using analytical accounting and you wish to close the analytical accounting module in conjunction with the general ledger closing process. For Microsoft Dynamics GP10, Service Pack 2, and greater, functionality was added to consolidate balances for dimensions in analytical accounting. Please review the year-end document to make sure you have properly marked the dimensions that you want to be consolidated during the year-end process. Please note that there is no separate year-end process that needs to be run in the analytical accounting module. When the year-end close process is run for the general ledger, it will automatically consolidate the balances and move the transactions in analytical accounting for dimensions that were properly marked. Also note that year-end procedures for payroll are independent of the procedures in other modules. These procedures are always performed at the end of the calendar year. You will want to post any final adjusting entries you may need to do in General Ledger. The adjusting entries include all the entries that correct errors that were made when transactions were recorded. The adjusting entries also include journal entries that are used to assign revenues or expenses to the period in which the revenues were earned or in which the expenses were incurred. If you must make any adjusting entries to allocate revenue, expenses, or depreciation to the year that you are closing, use the transaction entry window or the quick journal entry window to make adjusting entries in the general ledger. If you have to track initial adjusting entries or post audit entries separate from other fiscal periods, auditing periods can be set up in the general ledger. This feature enables separate tracking of the adjusting entries that are made after the year is closed. For more information about how to create these auditing periods, refer to the year-end closing documentation that can be downloaded from the InterDynArtist website. Print an account list to verify the posting type of each account. There is a chart of accounts list in the Smart List that can be used to verify this information easily. The posting type determines whether an account is closed to the retained earnings account or whether an account brings a balance forward to the next fiscal year. If the account balance will be brought forward at the end of the year, the posting type must be set to balance sheet. If the account balance will be closed to retained earnings account at the end of the year, the posting type must be set to profit and loss. Use the account maintenance window if you must change the posting type for an account. So let's review the Smart List. Under the Microsoft Dynamics GP menu, select Smart List. Expand the Financial folder and then expand the Accounts folder. The default Smart List that you see here will show you the posting type that has been saved with the account number. You can quickly and easily scroll through this list to identify that your accounts are set as either a balance sheet account or a profit and loss account. If you see an account is set incorrectly and it needs to be changed, you can double-click the account in the account list here. This will take you to the account maintenance window where you can then come down and change the posting type of the account to the respective type and click Save. You will want to verify that all account posting types are set correctly before performing your year-end close. The next step is optional. If you would like to close the last period of the fiscal year, you can do so at this time. This prevents transactions from being posted to the wrong period or to the wrong year. Make sure that you post all transactions for the period and for the year for all modules before you close the fiscal periods. Later, if you have to post transactions to a fiscal period that you are already closed, you must return to the Fiscal Periods Setup window to reopen the period. To close those fiscal periods, you will go to the Administration menu and then under the Setup portion, scroll down to the Company Setup and then select Fiscal Periods. In here you can hit Close All, or if you only have periods that are remaining open, then you can go and close those. Then click OK. The next step is optional. You can perform file maintenance on your Financial Series group of modules. Run the checklinks procedure for each Financial Series group of modules that you are currently using. To do this, you would go to Microsoft Dynamics GP, Maintenance, and Checklinks. Under your series, you will select the module and click All, and then you would go to the next subledger, click All, and so on and so forth. Once you have inserted all series that you are currently using, then you can click the OK button. The next step is to verify the settings in the General Ledger Setup window. Go to Financial and under the Setup option, select the General Ledger window. If you want to keep historical records, you must click to select the Accounts checkbox and the Transactions checkbox in the Maintain History area of the General Ledger Setup. The account history lets you print financial statements and calculated budgets from historical information. The transaction history lets you print detailed historical trial balances. The transaction history also lets you view the transaction details. If these checkboxes are selected, both the account history and the transaction history are updated during the year-end closing routine. You will also want to make sure that you have the Allow Posting to History box checked. In the event, should any of your posting types on your GL account numbers be set incorrectly during the year-end close process, this will allow you to go back and correct those posting types to the correct posting type, and then the system will roll forward the year-end close for that particular account to close the balance of that account to the retained earnings account. Next, you will want to make a backup. This will be a backup of all your company data that you are doing the close for. You want to put the backup in a safe, permanent storage. The backup gives you a permanent record of the company's financial position at the end of the year. The backup can also be used to be restored from later if it is required. To make a backup of the company database, you'll want to be on the SQL Server where Dynamics is installed. You will log in as the SA user, and then you will go to the Microsoft Dynamics GP menu and select Maintenance and Backup. You will also need to know what your system password is. In the drop-down, you will select the company that you need to make the backup for. You can select the backup file and put it in a suggested place such as pre-year-end GL 2013 close, or something that makes sense to you so that you can have quick access to the backup should you need to restore from it later. Then click OK. Once your backup has been made, you'll want to print the detailed trial balance report. Under the Report section of the Financial module, you will want to come to the Trial Balance and select the Detail option. We recommend that you store this to a file somewhere on your network and save it with your pre-year-end close GL 2013 backup. We also recommend that you have posted all transactions for the period and for the year before running the detailed trial balance report. If you post additional transactions later, we recommend that you print a new detailed trial balance report. You will also want to print any year-end financial statements that you currently use. The ones that we suggest printing would include balance sheet, profit and loss statement, a statement of your cash flows, and a statement of retained earnings. Before you do your close, you'll want to make sure that you have created your new fiscal year. To do this, go to the Administration menu. Under the Setup portion, scroll down to the Company Setup, select the Fiscal Periods option, and enter your new year. Verify that the first and last day of the new year is correct, and then hit the Calculate button. Now you're ready to close the fiscal year. In Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013, there are some new features in the year-end closing window. Under Financial and under Routines, and in the year-end closing window, you will see that there's a checkbox that allows the option to keep inactive zero balance accounts during the closing process. Previously, these accounts would automatically be deleted during the close. Now users can select to keep all inactive accounts or just those zero balance accounts with amounts entered in a budget. The second change adds the option to clear the balance of selected unit accounts during the year-end close. Previously, the unit account balances always carried forward to the next year. There is now a checkbox on the unit account maintenance window to mark whether or not the balance should carry forward to the next year. That checkbox can be found under Cards and Unit Account and right here. Back to the year-end closing window. The third change that you will see when you do your closing process, if you are currently on Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013, is a new progress bar for the closing process. The process can take a while, and often users assume the process has locked up and will shut down the program. This visual indicator shows users the progress for the process. Another way to be able to know when the process has completed is when the report is ready to be printed. Also, please note that while you're doing the year-end closing process, you will want to ensure that all users have logged out of the company database and Microsoft Dynamics GP. If you have not set a retained earnings account in your general ledger setup window for the default, you can enter that retained earnings account at this point. The account that you specify in the retained earnings account box is the account to which the year's profit and loss accounts are closed. All current year earnings or current year losses are transferred to the account that you specify in the retained earnings account. If you want to distribute the retained earnings for the year to more than one retained earnings account, you can specify an allocation account to distribute the retained earnings amount to the appropriate accounts. To do this, you will go to the General Ledger Setup and open the General Ledger window. Next to the Retained Earnings section, you will want to mark the Close to Divisional Account Segments option. Once you have made your selections in this window, you are ready to close the year. Important: click Close Year only one time. If you click more than one time, you will close more than 1 year during the process. Also, if the progress window appears to stop at 50%, do not restart the routine. As long as the hard disk is processing, let the process continue. If you are maintaining the account history, the year-end closing routine transfers all current year information for each account in the chart of accounts to the account history. If you are maintaining the transaction history, the year-end closing routine also transfers all current year information for each account in the chart of accounts to the transaction history. The process then prepares the accounting system for a new fiscal year. In addition to transferring current year figures to the transaction history and to the account history, the year-end closing routine does the following. It reconciles and summarizes the general ledger balances that are accumulated throughout the year. It removes accounts that are marked as inactive if the accounts match the criteria for deleting a posting account. Inactive accounts that have been set up as budget accounts can also be deleted if they have no activity for the year. These accounts can be deleted even if budget amounts from past years are associated with these accounts. The year-end closing routine moves all profit and loss account balances to the retained earnings account. It also summarizes balance sheet accounts and brings the balances forward as the beginning balances of the account in the new fiscal year. And lastly, it prints the year-end closing report. When the year-end closing routine is complete, the year-end closing report is printed. This report lists the accounts that were closed and the transactions that were created to close those accounts. The year-end closing report is part of the audit trail. Save this report for the company's permanent records. The year-end closing report cannot be reprinted. If you haven't already closed the fiscal periods for all of the series, you can go back to the Administration tab under your fiscal period setup and do so at this time. The next step to perform would be to adjust the budget figures for the new year if you're using the budgeting tool within Microsoft Dynamics GP, and then print your financial statements. Print the profit and loss statements to verify that profit and loss accounts were closed to the retained earnings account. Print the balance sheet to verify that the balance sheet accounts indicate that the balances were brought forward. The final step is to make a backup. You can call this one Post Year-End Close GL 2013. This concludes the presentation of the closing processes for this module. Please refer to our other Microsoft Dynamics GP videos for the year-end closing procedures of the other modules.